with because he's been in office
Do you
for
want to rank it like out of 10?
he's been in office for like 150 days. So like, how do you think you're performing so far? In like a rank out of like
Okay,
1
out
to 10.
of like 1 through 10, 1 being the worst, 10 being the best, probably a 3.
A 3. Why so?
I mean, the border crisis is a whole like a whole thing, and then like I'm just not a big fan of his press secretary as well. How they won't really directly answer questions.
I hate his press
Um,
secretary.
that's
Oh.
I do too. I hate Jen Psaki. It's not my big thing. Yeah, I mean, I just don't think that they're really answering serious questions. Like, so, and I'm not a Trump supporter either. I'm in the middle, so like I don't care either side. Um, but whenever Trump had questions, it was more directed at like what a plan was. While Biden is getting questions like, "What kind
Biden
of ice
brushes a
cream are
lot of
you
his.
trying today? What kind of ice cream are you having?" And he's like, "Oh, chocolate, chocolate chip." Like, there's something clearly wrong with what the media has portrayed. I'm not a big fan of that. I'm more for like an equality on holding someone accountable to things that they need to do as like a presidential task.
Yeah,
And if that's not going to be of help, then I'm not for it. So
yeah, and
I'd
whenever
give him a
and
3,
whenever
maybe even
whenever
a 2, maybe even a 1 if I'm really,
if
yeah,
you're
it's
if,
just
if you're
not
if you're having a bad day, maybe a 1.
right,
Yeah, you're feeling
right.
generous. But no,
Yep, that's
even when he's asked like serious questions,
right. But
he
like, I
just
think whenever
brushes it off.
that's my thing.
He gives some dumb answer and people just like whoa, like
Right, and like I'm someone who's like I like fairness of questions from either side, either left or right. And the questions that he's had are like, okay, so like, what are you gonna do in your first 100 days? And then all of a sudden it went from like, what are you gonna do? What's your strategic plan to what is your ice cream flavor?
oh, what's your favorite? Nobody's ever asked Trump what his favorite ice cream is.
No, because even if you were to say, oh, like vanilla, he'd be like, oh, fucking racist. Like, I'm not one. I don't like Trump. I
You
don't like
like
Biden.
white ice cream?
Right. Like, I'm just not a big fan of like either or, but like I am going to side with someone who's been fairer and like whenever people treat them fairly or like I guess just like even asking them questions in a fair manner, I will always side with that person who can actually answer them. Biden has not done that, so yeah, I would definitely say I'm more in support of Trump
Yeah,
right
and
now.
did you hear what well, I'm gonna say this and I'm gonna say what like really big just happened. He was asked a serious question about Israel because there was a
He said he
ceasefire.
wasn't going to answer.
There was a ceasefire and he took
Yep,
credit. He took credit for the ceasefire, and
he
then
shouldn't because that wasn't him.
yeah, and then he got questioned about it. It was on the national news. Um, he dodged. He completely dodged the question on Israel. And you know what he did? All right, so you know how there was recently the Asian attacks, like the Asian hate crimes,
Yeah,
and how there's been progressively more Jewish hate crimes.
yeah.
He was interviewing this Jewish reporter, and he told the Jewish reporter, if you feel like your life is in danger. Meanwhile, this is supposed to be United States, where you're supposed to be safe and have all the freedoms and liberties you could ever imagine.
Right. I heard about this.
If you're Jewish in America, if you feel like your life is in danger, take off your Star of David and take off your yarmulke.
That's the thing. They're not like we're all for our First Amendment. Like we have our freedom of religion, and that is not being portrayed as such anymore. Especially whenever it comes to the Jewish community. And I mean, you even kind of see things like same things with like Catholicism, especially like with the COVID vaccine. At least because like I'm someone who's like, all right, whatever like our scientific community feels, but I also see reluctancy because yeah, the FDA still has not approved it. Like they have given it for emergency use authorization only. This is not meaning that it went through the entire process of an actual
Yeah,
FDA authorized vaccine. I'm not, and a lot of people say I like sound more Republican, but genuinely, I am in the middle. I am someone who likes to hold everyone to all standards that I have. And if you're genuinely going to say that like someone should take a vaccine and then they're
yeah,
like a bitch for it or that
yeah,
they're
and
a Trumpy for it or like whatever kind of I guess comeback that they have because of it,
yeah,
you can't really do that because it's not FDA approved.
yes,
It's FDA authorized for emergency use. There's a
you know what
big
else
difference
you
in
know what else they
qualification.
did? What makes it look even worse?
What?
It's federally protected from lawsuits for the next 50 years.
I know that. I know that. I'm actually a pharmacy student, so I've gotten quite a few questions about it.
Yeah,
It's
like
a
not
fun
and yeah,
time.
And man, I wish Trump was in office right now and all this Fauci stuff came out. Like, dude, Trump would be lighting Fauci on fire right
The,
now.
the, the thing about the Fauci
Biden is
emails I
literally.
loved. Do you know the biggest conspiracy? And I don't like to side with conspiracy theorists often, but I do like to listen to their points to see maybe if there is a correlation. The hydroxychloroquine plant, we in the United States cannot make any antibiotics. We always get them shipped. Hydroxychloroquine was effective. The next week after they found out it was effective, it was bombed. It was literally bombed. They recalled all hydroxychloroquine. They pulled it off our shelves at the pharmacy, and you could not sell it anymore. I was like, huh, interesting. If it is effective, then why would they want to be pulling it off the shelves?
Well, what Biden said about that is that he's scared people would overdose from it because they'd buy it at the store and then try to overdose from it.
And they're not scared of opiates. They're not scared of anything else. Because hydroxychloroquine would take an ungodly amount to overdose on. And that's coming from a pharmacy student.
Yeah, because this couple in Florida overdosed because Trump told them oxychloroquine works.
People are always going to do that. I'm sorry, but they will. You see people doing that with Tylenol. You do it with ibuprofen. It's always going to happen. Like, I don't know why people love to target things that actually work. And then once one bad thing happens, I'm like, okay, well, we could use the same standard for the COVID vaccine then, because in clinical trials, but at least with AstraZeneca, there was a person who died. So immediately, why don't we recall that for eternity and we never sell it again? Oh, well, here we are administering it to everyone in the world. Come on. If you're gonna hold something to one standard, you have to do it for everything else. You cannot do it.
Yeah, and then he was asked about Fauci, and he was just like, "Hey man, hey, he's doing a good job. Things will get better, man. Hey, you know."
Do you think that Trump knew that it was bullshit? Because a lot of things are coming out of how he's giving Fauci these dirty ass looks and shit.
No, I don't think. I think Trump might have had a hunch. But there's no way Trump knew for sure, because if he knew for sure, he would have said something. It's Trump, man.
Right.
But
no, very fair. I love Fauci's emails because a lot of, at least very, very left wing, I always try to bring it up on here. It's just the funniest thing. I will try to bring it up, and I'm like, he literally said that it was moderated in this lab. And everyone should know that, especially whenever, if you have viruses that are at least perfectly spaced, from each other. That's impossible. Virins in any sort of state that we've had in our history have never been that close, closely spatial. And no one, and he literally said that in there. An immunologist also said that. And then he's like, but I still could have been genetically, it could have been modified in a lab. Yeah. But then all the left wings are you didn't read the whole email. And I'm like, I read all 3,000 of them.
3,191 to be point on. But,
I read all of them. I read every single thing, and I was just like, "How are you getting from this that?" And then they're like, "Oh well, masks work." No,
I
wear PPE all the time, and it's only whenever I am sick do I wear a mask. The only time. So I've been saying this the whole time. I was like, "Listen,
Yeah, I brought that up.
People don't like to listen to me, but I don't lean either side, but the side that's more right now is the right, and I'm gonna side with whatever side's right.
I even brought this up on my podcast because I do one on my YouTube channel, and
right.
No, how I was, because all my Democratic friends, all the Democrats I talk to and have debates with on my YouTube channel, they always say, just wear your mask. It's not going to hurt you. When these emails,
it can't.
These yeah, exactly. These emails, Fauci even said that the virus matter is too small to be stopped by a mask. And you know what's bad now? Since all the mask mandates have been lifted, there's now outbreaks of colds because everyone wearing a mask, their immune affection, their immune systems, went down. So now there's outbreaks of cold, which you have a cold.
We're gonna see a lot of big influx of that.
Yeah, you have a cold.
I don't know if you heard this, but the Biden administration was very proud that the flu rates were so low this year. I was like, yeah, because you targeted everything to fucking COVID. Anytime someone has a fucking shortness of breath, you're gonna immediately say it's COVID, even without a test. So and we even saw that with death rates, and they even inflated it. You can check CDC and everything. They made a statement.
My governor,
What?
My state's governor was outed.
What's your state's governor? What's
Pritzker,
your state?
Pritzker, Illinois.
I'm from Illinois, so.
Cool. Well, Pritzker actually got in the beginning.
Pritzker's a fucking bitch. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah. I mean, only thing he did good was legalize marijuana. That's all he did good.
But that was to get him votes. We knew that.
Yeah, that was to get him votes. Well, also kind of helps with the income because we're already super in debt. But anyways, he was actually outed for increasing the infection rates, so that Trump would send the state more money to help pay off the debt.
See a correlate, like there's such a big correlation, and I wish that people would understand that. I hate that, like, I'm not even gonna say like first time workers are getting attacked for it or anything like that, but just the fact that like people will even have to come to me, and we've never had a vaccine in which people would be like, oh, can this cause infertility, or like people are just genuinely wondering about it, and I'm like, yeah, because we don't have the data to prove it. Like, we do not have any data right now. We have literally almost nothing. Like, there's a lot of studies right now, at least on like PubMed, that are basically about like infertility rates in women, and like there's a correlation in miscarriages, and I'm like, yeah, because these have to be research studies, because we do not have the data to back it. We do not.
In the UK,
it pisses me off more than anything.
For the UK vaccine, they did one study and just rolled with it. But no, and like, what was it? I think it's like the polio vaccine. It was like either the polio vaccine or the vaccine before that, where
it's either going to be polio or SARS. There's no in between.
Yeah, it's going to be the next polio vaccine where everybody who got the vaccine, their kids are going to have some kind of deformity or something like that. It's going to be something like that. Like,
son of a bitch.
A whole generation.
So that's the thing is, like, I'm just, like, waiting till the day where we, like, you'll see those commercials on, like, mesothelioma or something. Like, you'll see them on, like, there. I'm waiting for the day that COVID vaccine is on here because I'm like, we don't know a goddamn thing about this.
It won't be because it's federally protected. You can't.
That's the thing is that they can't make lawsuits, and that's the saddest thing. Is like, if these people, because one of the pharmacists that I work with, he's like, so is the company liable if there's anything wrong with me if I take this vaccine? Because, and also, like, if you look at like clinical studies, like the first thing that you do is always separate by age, or you separate by group, right? So whenever they were giving out these vaccines, I thought it was very funny because even whenever the flu vaccine came out, it was everyone can get it, no age limit. But then once the COVID vaccine, it was like 65 and older, like 45 to 55. We had these sectionings. You only see that in clinical trials only. So the fact that, and there were no clinical trials on this COVID vaccine, it was literally, we are the clinical trial. And I do not agree with that at all. It's absolutely miserable. It's not, I hate it because like I've done clinical trials, like I have done them before. And I'm like, I know the age sectioning in which they occur, and this is one of them. I hate it, but I can't really do much because, I mean, what am I supposed to do? Yeah. But, we've already had more than 50% of the population get it, so it's too late right now.
Do you believe personally we should be interfering in India right now? Because they have 10.
In Israel, yes, but
no, not
Palestine,
India.
no.
India.
In India?
They have gotten 9 different COVID strains because of how run down the areas are and how they're receiving no help. Why do you think the UK has been on shutdown the entire time? They're too scared.
Well, they've went to an extreme almost.
They're too scared to lift it up because all the India strains are in the UK.
Well, one thing that I loved about Fauci. So this is the thing that we can use against Fauci, at least whenever it comes out, because Fauci was like, since it's an mRNA vaccine, a lot of people, freak out about mRNA. And he's like, oh, well, since it's mRNA, it's actually like one of the broadest protecting vaccinations there is. So any strain, that's a lie. The only one that's actually the broadest coverage is actually just a live attenuated virus. So the fact that it's mRNA, I think, scares a lot of people, and it is not, most certainly not the broadest spectrum of coverage. So I have no doubt that India is going through a lot of stuff. I have no doubt that Europe is also going through a lot of things right now because it's not going to cover it. It's not, and I bet you the strains are going to be worse because I know that the Europe is going through I think there's a COVID virus that came from mink, like the mink, like the animal mink.
Yeah.
And I know that it's even worse, and I know that they're thinking that it has some sort of I think it's a stronger strain of like SARS, so they're seeing a lot worse effects. And I think that's definitely going to transmit throughout, the world in a timely manner, just kind of like how COVID did. But the mRNA vaccine that we have now is not going to cover it. It will not. It's not a thing. The only one that's broad coverage is a live attenuated one for the for flu even virus.
I've
not gonna happen.
I've never trusted Fauci because of the whole AIDS stuff.
I don't trust Fauci.
Did you hear about
once
what
you
he did?
get politics involved in health, we took a Hippocratic oath. I took one. All of us pharmacy majors, doctors, all of us took one. We are there for care only. We don't care about anything else. We care about getting the best care there is to the population. And if that's not going to be respected, once politics comes in, you get corrupt doctors. It's going to be almost in every profession. But the fact that it was as crucial as this one that we allowed politics to be involved is where it makes me mad, because that is going against our oath. That is going against the oath that we took from the beginning to give everyone the best possible care that there is.
Yeah, did you hear about what he did with the whole AIDS stuff back in the 1990s?
I know. They have a patent for it. I know.
Like,
it's man-made. It's man-made. It's man-made. A lot of these things are.
The whole
it makes me so mad, because I'm like, I am in pharmacy, and like, this is how we get a bad rep. This is how the opioid pandemic started. This is how, there's so many other things that are involved, and I hate it for the reason that we get the bad rep. And I'm like, not all of us are bad. We don't all allow us to get our political agenda in the way of actual care of patients. And I guess some corrupt people did. Especially if they're getting a payout, or if they're going to be head of something, then they're like, oh, I'll do whatever your political agenda allows me to, as long as you allow me to be the spokesperson, and they'll do whatever. Which, it's not the quality of care that I took the oath for, and I'll never stand by that.
Hopefully, the senators can get enough push to maybe get him fired, but...
I think, weren't they in the talks of getting him fired?
What?
Weren't they in the talks of getting him fired?
Yeah, it was the Kentucky senator that started it, I think.
Yeah. Is that Graham? No, Graham. I thought Graham was Louisiana. Who is Graham for, I think? I don't remember who. But I know that they're trying.
Yeah, especially with how corrupt Fauci is. He does not mean... Fauci is the highest paid, quote-unquote, politician. Yeah, he's even labeled as...
No, you don't even have to use quote-unquote. I agree with you that he's more of a politician than, but he is a medical expert.
Highest
because
paid,
I know the care
politician
experts like that I'm in, because like I am in a pharmacy program. I'm in my second year. I only have 2 more years with my doctorate. They would never allow us to act like that. They would never. Like, the biggest thing is that we never allow any sort of like bias. We like, obviously you're gonna have your own like bias, because everyone has it, regardless of what you do. But whenever it comes down to healthcare and treating someone, you're going to treat everyone the exact, absolute same, whether or not the president, whether or not a janitor. Does not matter to me. Yeah. I'm going to treat you the exact same. And Fauci did not do that. He was like, I'm going to try to do this with whatever this agenda is. I'm going to go with this because it's going to get me the rep I want. And then once the emails are exposed, you can't save yourself. And he tried, but you cannot do that. You cannot. Yeah. And I studied genetics for a very, very, like, a fat minute. And you can't bullshit people who know science as well. Like, just because you think you're going to fit this agenda, a lot of people are going to question you, and especially people in that same field. So I've questioned it. My immunologist has questioned it. You can't lie with science. You can't do it.
And
so
you notice whenever he asked questions, he either gave a full-on yes, this is the one and only answer, or he'd give this tiny answer but never actually confirm it. So
right.
He'd be giving these full answers like, yes, this is what we know, this is not changing, and then he'd be like, science evolved. Okay, if the science is going to evolve on this, either it didn't, or you just keep changing your opinion.
Right, because he said that it was like 100, I think it was like fully transmittable from animals to humans. Well, that was false. So then whenever he got proven wrong there, he was like, oh, well, I never said that. Well, yeah, you did. You did multiple times. Then he tried to backtrack, and then he would say, okay, no, it's not. Like, it's human-to-human transmission. Okay, then wear a mask. Okay, double mask, triple mask. Okay, well, let's
He
prove
literally
efficacy on
said,
mask wearing. That was debunked, and he's like, well, I was just trying to be safe. And then people debunked that, and then he's like, well, how much further can you go? You can't. You cannot. That's the first thing I said about masks. Is like when it all started, even people at the pharmacy school were like, "What the fuck? Like, why are we wearing masks?" I was like, this is for infected people. This isn't for us. Like, this is not for people with normal lung capacity. This is not anyone with COVID-19. This is not it." And we had said that from day one. But then these emails come out. It's proving that we were right the entire time. But it was too late. It was, and that's the same thing with like, I'm not anti-vax at all, but whenever it comes to the COVID vaccine, I can see why reluctancy is there. My biggest problem with it is like you can't put politics into shit, especially whenever it comes to human anatomy.
field.
You cannot, and autonomy. You leave everything out of it whenever it comes to science because those numbers are not going to lie to you. And Fauci proved that for the science community because we were all like, "What the hell is COVID then? If it's
the numbers
this crazy thing?"
and
then the whole time he knew that the science community was right while we were trying to prove his theory right. We could never do it. But then it came to, okay, here's what it actually is, and then our numbers matched.
The numbers never lie, but Fauci will lie to you. Like
and it's very detrimental. And I was a big fan of whenever Trump had removed us from like the World Health Organization. I absolutely love that he did that because we were the biggest contributors in getting the littlest help from them. It's a mess. It's an absolute mess. I think a lot of us have kind of been kind of shaken up by it. I don't like that people are ignoring that Fauci's emails are so critical. I wish they would actually listen to it because it is a very big deal.
this is the nation's top doctor. Like it's like, are you dumb?
I know. I know. And I love to listen to both sides because like once again I am in the middle.
I used to be in the middle, but
like my God, like this is where I'm like, I don't know if I'm more conservative because of it or if I'm whatever, but like you can't tell, like I love science. It's my whole life. I've dedicated my entire life to science. And the fact that like people like will still like even after reading the emails, like I don't care if you're reading something that's for like either social or scientific context, you should never put your bias into it. You should take it as face value. And the fact that these people are still reading Fauci's emails and are like, oh, well, he did a good thing by recommending masks. You clearly are putting some sort of bias on this that is not correct because the entire time he knew that only infected people should be wearing the masks. And they could have still gone out. They didn't have to fucking quarantine for 2 weeks. They could have worn a mask and been absolutely fine. We could have had our economic standpoint going absolutely great right now. But no, what did we do? We handed out the unemployment. We handed out all of these COVID relief packages. We fucked our economy. We fucked everyone. We fucked it up. And I'm most certainly fired up about it because it's my my future.
I don't
but
blame you.
damn,
Having that much passion for something, and you see the top doctor doing all this stuff, I'd feel the same way.
And it was all bullshit the entire time. And I'm like, nice. I love to know that now even science can try to be politically motivated. I love that. Bullshit.
It's a horrible thing.
The world that we live in. It's cool that we get to see it, but terrible that we get to see it at the same time.
Yeah. Fauci.
Yeah.
Never liked Fauci. Never.
That man is going to be fighting to keep his license after this. I'll tell you that.
No, he won't. He won't. No, he won't.
What do you mean? No, he won't. I can tell you, I could lose my license just like that. If that guy can keep his license, then shit.
Nah.
He better keep the same standard for all of us.
Yeah.
Shit.
When you have the president still backing this guy and supporting him after this has happened, when you have our...
Are we talking about Biden?
Yeah.
Supporting him?
Biden's telling the public that a personal email between him and Biden, Fauci and Biden literally said that there's just some crazy people in this world and that everything will be okay.
Does he not understand what that email represented?
Biden
Oh my God.
Biden fully supports Fauci.
I cannot take any more political agenda bullshit. I can't. Oh my God. Like, I feel like my whole degree has been shit on. I can't. I don't. Oh my God. Because I feel like I knew already that hydroxychloroquine was going to be effective, and a lot of other pharmacists spoke out about it. They were like, "Yeah, this is actually highly effective against COVID-19." We couldn't say anything because then it was already by the point that it was pseudoscience. But I mean, you can kind of even see it with like anti-vaxxers whenever they're like, "Oh, vaccines cause autism." Well, that was actually proven to be extremely false with numbers and data. But it got so far out and so portrayed by the media already, even though they knew it was pseudoscience and they knew it was fake, that it was unsavable. And this is the same thing with masks. You've already scared people so much to believe this fake science that they won't accept anything else.
Yeah, so
it's very common in science. It's very, very sad. I mean, very, very sad.
So,
it's like there was a study about like if you eat ice cream, you're more likely to drown. Okay, well, when do you usually eat ice cream? All right, in the summer. What are you doing in the summer? You're swimming. There's gonna be a correlation. All right, like you can't tell me that like okay, yeah, if you try to do this in the winter when people aren't getting ice cream, like come on, like
so do as would okay. So you technically are a professional, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So for a professional's opinion, do you think the Pfizer vaccine really has a 95% protection rate? But no, because my friend's parents and my teacher at school, they've both gotten COVID. They both have the Pfizer
after
vaccine.
it, second exposure.
No, so they've gotten COVID once. They both have. Then they got the Pfizer vaccine, and they both recently got COVID again. So that's Pfizer plus their
so that's second exposure. But why would they get the vaccine even though they've already been exposed?
Well, I guess since my teacher works at a school district, she had to, but she's a Democrat. She's all about the vaccine.
So a lot of things that we see, even after immunizations, there will always be antibody production. So not even vaccinations. You could even get the virus, and then you would be like, okay, yeah, I already have the antibodies. I have the immunity to it. That's what our body does naturally, and that is through your B and T cells. That's a very normal thing. So people who usually get it wouldn't have to get the vaccine, and that was also in Fauci's email. He's saying, "Oh, people who've already gotten COVID already are immune to this strain of COVID."
Yeah, but Fauci said publicly that your antibodies only last 10 months.
That's a lie, and you could see any other disease state by that.
That's
you can see that with the flu. You can see that. So a lot of people love to use the flu argument, and I will use this for example. Flu. Our vaccines are a prediction of what the East gets. So then once we get it, we're like, okay, well, we have a good prediction on what's going to be coming up. It's never, I mean, it could be right, it could be wrong. But the flu that you've already had, you'll never get again. That is because you have B and T cells for immunity. You'll never get the same flu again. You can never get the same sickness again.
So
that's very common sense in science. So the fact that he's even trying, oh my God. This is what I'm saying. My fucking degree is getting shit on.
so once again, as a professional,
yeah,
because my mother hates the flu vaccine. She does not trust it.
I don't blame her.
Yeah, so
I do not blame her. It's a prediction. It's 50 right, 50 yes. 50 right or 50 no. We could be wrong. We could be right. It's not.
I've never gotten the flu vaccine.
Okay.
And I've never gotten sick. She's never gotten the flu vaccine, and she's never gotten sick. But my grandfather, who got the flu vaccine, got the flu.
Yep. That's very common. So, like in older patients, that we'll see that their memory cells are extremely high, but these naive B and T cells, the things that actually will, I guess, recognize a disease state or a sickness, and then they can go attack, and they're like, okay, well, we know exactly what to do. So then they can get these memory cells. But by the time that you're already really like an elder patient, you don't really have those anymore. Those naive B cells and T cells kind of go like this, while your memory cells go like this. So you have more memory cells, so you can recognize a lot more diseases that you could be, secondary exposure to, but you won't feel any effects because your body already knows what to do to fight it off. So it could be more common on the aspect that he is getting older that maybe he got it, or it could be the reason of our flu vaccine was wrong. So there's kind of always two sides to
Yeah,
it.
because every time we go to the doctor, like my personal doctor. Last time I went, she told me I should get the flu vaccine 6 times while I was there. I was there for 20 minutes, and 6 times she was like, "You should really get the flu vaccine." My mom's like, "Nope."
Yeah,
and
I
she,
don't
but
blame her.
she's like,
It's just because it's a prediction. It's not really factual on what's going to be occurring in the
"Yeah,
United States.
but the but the
So,
but the doctors don't tell you that. They just tell you to get it. That it'll help you."
wait, what?
Yeah, my doctor told me that it will help me. It will save me from the flu. And they're all big about it because they're like, COVID's going around, and plus you're asthmatic. This will really protect you. And like,
Oh, I love it. I love it. We had record-breaking numbers of how low flu was this year. Do you know why? It's because people aren't getting tested for flu. All right, they're getting COVID tests. So you're going to group it in with this large number, which is why no one basically had flu this year. It's it's a very funny thing to see.
yeah, and like
Oh,
all doctors I've ever went to, they always emphasize that I need to take treatments. I need to take like the vaccine because I have asthma, which I don't know if there's a medical term for it, but I have like
yeah, it's a higher indication
I have
that you would get the flu shot if you have
well,
asthma, just because
well
of the shortness of breath
yeah,
aspect.
well,
Same
yeah.
thing
I
for
don't, I
COVID.
don't, I don't, I don't know if there's a medical term for it, but I have like borderline asthma.
Okay,
But like I don't get like the shortness of breath from it. I've had I have like the top doctors like so like the people who are what is it called, professional in like the cardiovascular stuff. Not that's a heart.
yeah,
That's heart, right?
yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, the cardiovascular system's all blood and things that
Lungs,
I guess with
lungs.
heart.
Okay, asthma experts, whatever.
Well, I guess that would be, yeah. Pulmonary is really lungs, but yeah.
I've had two professional. Well, I've had two experts say I don't have asthma, and I've had two say I do.
Yeah, I mean, but if you see even in medical terminology, you can see that medical is still a practice. Pharmacy is a practice. It's because we learn more about it every single day. We're not all completely on the same field, which is why law, they're called lawyers. They're not called lawyer practice. They're literally just lawyers. You'll see that medical practice. It's even the same with the doctors because we're still learning about medical fields. It'll always be a practice because no one can agree on one certain thing because there's so many things that it could be. So
Well, I want to see the road now.
Hello?